Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there tonight and had yourselves a wonderful day. And I do hope everyone's having a great beginning to your new weekend out there so far. Thank y'all for joining me. There's a lot to get into for tonight's video. There's a tropical wave that has everybody's attention that is now emerging off Africa, starting to move over the Atlantic Ocean, where it does have a shot to develop. Not just me saying this, but the experts at the National Hurricane Center has now dubbed an area of the Atlantic an area of interest where this tropical wave could move into and then have that shot to develop. So we're going to speak on current conditions out here in the Atlantic first, take a zoomed in look at this tropical wave, show you the latest from the National Hurricane Center and their graphics, and then we'll compare all model guidance, the Euro GFS, Euro AI model, the ensemble guidance, and then we'll have a section of the video. We'll spend a lot of time discussing, sort of geeking out with you guys, about the environmental background of the Atlantic and how it could support a pretty strong storm system if this energy makes it to a certain area of the Atlantic. And then we'll speak on steering currents and all that also. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. So let's get rocking and rolling tonight. So make sure this is going to work for us first. It is. So I do want to circle this area. You know, once upon a time, I had like a 40 or 50% chance to develop. A lot of energy getting kind of hung up off the coast of the southeast. And we can see by these colors indicated by, you know, this, that. I mean, this indicates convection, shower, and storm activity, colder cloud tops, which means we have taller updrafts. The colder up it gets, the taller these updrafts get, the colder it gets in the upper levels in the atmosphere. And this is reflected by the colors you see on your screen. So just a lot of unsettled weather, but nothing tropical expected to develop out of this anymore. So I'll go on and get that off your screen. This is what's left over of Invest 96L. We were speaking on this a good bit earlier this week, but not so much now. And this will probably honestly be the only thing I really mention about this, but just blowing up a little isolated pocket of shower and storm activity convection. And even if this was going to blow up into a hurricane or either stay the same regardless, this is expected and forecast to just kind of move and continue to recurve further out in the North Atlantic. So we'll get that back off your screen. All eyes are on this huge piece of energy here. Okay, that is our tropical wave of interest. So let's go on and just get this off your screen and take a zoomed in look. This is Africa. This is what we call the MDR, the main development region. This is the Lesser Antilles. So this has to work from here to about here. Okay, but this is the wave. You see, you know, the reds and the oranges and the blacks and whites embedded in those colors. This is colder cloud tops, which means it's popping off some pretty deep convection. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything right now. I mean, these waves do that. This is still going to run into some dry air, which is right into here. So what's going to happen when it does that? I think it will probably make it struggle a little bit to develop in the shorter to medium term. But some model guidance doesn't show that. It shows it strengthening pretty fast, like the GFS, which, you know, I'll show you here in a second. But this is our wave. This is the thing that has everybody's attention. And it looks pretty impressive right now as it emerges into the Atlantic off Africa. So let's go on and get this off your screen. So I've been talking about this for a while. How I thought eventually they would put an area of interest right here, and a lot of people did. I'm not just saying I'm the only one that called it, so I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to stay humble, but I think we all pretty much knew that we were going to have an area of interest that was going to get issued pretty much right here. Because I know you just saw the other area of interest too. We're going to ignore that because it's not going to bother anybody, and then that yellow X you saw over here. This is our main focus in this video. The X right here, that is where our tropical wave, or kind of the center of it, is right now. Once you get to the end of this arrow and you get into this yellow area right here, this is where it has right now a 20% chance to develop sometime between now and the next 7 days. And that might confuse you after, especially we look over all the model guides. And if you've been tuning in, you know that it continuously shows a tropical storm or stronger developing once it gets into this area. But keep in mind, this area right here, this is getting past 7 days. So I think that this is going to do nothing but increase. This number right here is going to do nothing but increase. Once it gets to a 40% chance, this will show up in orange. But now the National Hurricane Center has this as an area of interest. Okay, so this isn't just some random guy, you know, on YouTube trying to talk up a system that's not going to happen. The National Hurricane Center has dubbed it an area of interest now too. So let's go over the part of the video that most people want to see, and that is all of the model guidance. The first thing we'll speak on is the latest Euro from this afternoon. So we're going to start all model guidance off, at least out here in the Atlantic, with Monday morning. If I forget to mention a time frame, MON stands for Monday, AUG, August the 11th. Don't really focus on Zulu time. We don't need to worry about that until we have a system about to make landfall. So this is our tropical wave right here, 1011 millibar low. And remember, the lower you see this number go, the stronger the low pressure. So once you start to see around 1,000 millibar low pressure or lower, that means you're probably getting close to tropical storm status or stronger if that number gets lower. So I always just want to reiterate that. So we get into Tuesday, we get into Wednesday of next week. This wave should be right in here, gaining a little bit of latitude. Okay, and then we start to get into Thursday of next week, August the 14th. Still just a 1010 millibar low. The Euro does not want to, the Euro pretty much just wants to maintain this wave. Okay, so we get into about Friday. We get around this time next week, literally 1 week from today, and this thing finally starts to strengthen somewhat as it gets into a more favorable part of the Atlantic. And we're going to talk about why it becomes so favorable here in a second when we kind of geek out with you guys a little bit. But we're going to stop it here and we're going to jump to this. So this is closer, obviously, to the Caribbean and the southeastern Gulf coastline. So watch how this number begins to drop. So we get past the day 7 time frame, and then we get between day 7 and day 10. So we're all the way into next Saturday, 999 millibar low. And then we get into next Sunday, August the 17th, not this Sunday, next Sunday. We got a 988. So one would argue that's probably a Category 1 hurricane. And just watch as it continues to strengthen all the way to day 10. So we stop it here. This is not this coming Monday, but then following Monday morning, August the 18th. And I agree. You know, we've had some flack in the comments saying, what's the point of showing past 10 days? And listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. But here's the thing, is I ask you as the audience, is don't pull from this that I'm telling you there's going to be a hurricane exactly right here, getting close to the Turks, Caicos Islands, Bahamas on the morning of August 18th. That's not what you take from this. We look at all model guidance this far out to figure out a signal. And the signal is pretty loud that something is going to be right in this area. That's not me saying it's going to happen. That's not me forecasting a hurricane right here. We look at the long range for signals. That's my take on it. Maybe not someone else's, but that's mine. So we get past day 10. Of course, it rapidly strengthens this into like a 950 millibar low in a major hurricane. And of course, it gets very close to the Carolina coastline, but it does begin to recurve north. But the general theme here is 2 things. One, it really likes this tropical system getting into this area. And a lot of other model runs show this too. 2, an even bigger thing. If anything gets into this area, guys, or even the Caribbean, it's going to work with a very favorable pattern. That's why it strengthens so fast. Okay? I'm going to talk about why it does that. The GFS is really wanting to pop this off in strength quick. I mean, it's saying basically by like Monday morning, August the 11th, this is already going to be 1,003 millibar low. And I think it's doing this because it's latching on to a really strong vort piece of energy off this current tropical wave. I don't think it's going to be this strong, but it could be. It wants to almost drop into hurricane status by Tuesday morning, August the 12th, right here. Little baby, kind of petite-looking hurricane, very compact, a lot of dry air nearby. But it kind of maintains that strength. Weakens, strengthens a little bit, and by the time we're into next Thursday, I mean, we got around a Category 1 hurricane kind of cruising well northeast of the Lesser Antilles. Okay, and then we get about a week out, we get into next Saturday morning, August the 16th. It already has this as a Category 2 or 3 hurricane north of the Leeward Islands. Well north, I might add. Okay? So, I just realized that I still I need to flip this back to the GFS. Here it goes. So, we go on and take this, start off where we left off with the last look there just a second ago. 964 millibar low. Okay? One would argue that's Category 2 or 3 hurricane. And there it goes, gaining some latitude, starting to turn northwest. 960, and then we get 10 days out, it's a 950 major hurricane. Bermuda's this little speck right here, obviously the southeast coastline right here, and it does look like it's beginning to turn. So that would be good news. And I think that the pattern could support a recurve, but we don't know for sure. We don't know. And basically when I go over steering currents in this video, just remember, we're going to go over it as a learning lesson, not as me saying this is exactly the way the steering currents are going to be. It's a tough cookie to figure out with steering currents. Okay, but it does have this recurving. But boy, that is a powerful hurricane, splitting Bermuda and the Carolina coastline. So we continue to move forward here. What about the Euro AI model? It's been locked in for a while. So if this ends up happening, you got to tip your cap to the Euro AI model. Same thing, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, all the way into Thursday morning, August the 14th. It follows the Euro, just keeps this week all the way until it gets in the Southwest Atlantic. And we get about a week from now, we'll go on and flip to this. It's still pretty weak. Only 1,008 millibar low. That's not even a tropical storm. Next name is Aaron with an E, by the way. I meant to mention that at the beginning of the video. We get between day 7 and day 10. That's when that millibar number you see right there begins to drop slowly. 997, tropical storm at this point. It's a hurricane at day 10 going through the Bahamas, Turks, Caicos Islands. And then it's a strengthening one too. And for whatever reason, the Euro AI model continues to like South Florida, somewhere around it. So it's splitting the gap between Cuba and Florida. South Florida at this point is a 960 millibar low about 11, 12 days from now. Okay. So it continues to show one of those worst case scenarios. There's multiple worst case scenarios. You know, somebody's best case scenario can be someone's worst case scenario. We know that when it comes to a landfalling tropical system, but it gets into the Gulf and continues to just be a very strong hurricane. So what do you take from all operational runs that I just showed you? It just likes this wave eventually getting to the Southwest Atlantic, maybe the northern areas of the Caribbean, and strengthening. And I'll tell you, if this gets into the Caribbean or the Southwest Atlantic or the Gulf, it's going to have everything working with it to strengthen into a strong storm system. So this is the Euro AI model. Remember, this makes up 51 members. So you're going to see a bunch of L's on your screen. Please don't think there's 37 low pressures. But, you know, it takes these 51 members. If it develops 51 members, it'll throw all 51 L's on the screen. If it develops 40 of them, and put 40 L's. So if all these are really tightly clustered up, then it's just going to look like a big old blob, which kind of looks like that right here. So we're getting to Tuesday morning. Ignore this up here. This is Invest 96L. There's a couple members trying to pop off the low pressure in the northern Gulf, but we won't speak on that right now. We get into midweek next week, Wednesday morning. We get into Thursday morning of next week, and then we get about a week from right now. These L's start to split a little bit. You got some members getting down here. You got some members beginning to recurve, and we're going to go on and just take a closer look at this. Okay. 1 week from today, and you're going to see it load. You're just going to have to load, and then we did take it all the way to, let's just go on all the way through. We can go through day 10. This is as far out as we need to go anyways. That is a huge spread. I mean, and that's not uncommon at day 10. But one thing that you're seeing here is most of these members in the process of strengthening. You got some 990 millibar lows, some 950s, which is a very strong hurricane. You got some weaker members. You got some sort of sneaking and taking the southerly route. You got some recurving pretty fast over here. But of course, the middle ground is right in the middle, right into here. Some over here, some over here. But in general, it's a pretty strong signal. I'm not going to sit here and try to count all those L's and see if there's 51 of them, but there's a lot of them. I mean, that's a strong signal that this is going to get into this area somewhere, this large area, and probably begin to strengthen the tropical system. Now, what about the GFS ensemble? Remember, and I think that, yeah, we almost got about nine days out or so, about 8 to 9 days out, and that's really all we need. Okay, so once again, we'll start off from Monday morning. You can see these members are tightly clustered, and this thing's going to have to load a little bit, so please try to ignore the please wait that pops up for literally a mini second. But this only makes up 21 members. Okay, and let's go on and zoom into this. This only makes up 21 members, not 51, so naturally you're not going to see as many L's, but it looks like it forms just about every single one of them. And as this creeps Thursday morning, and I do apologize about the loading. I had to kind of reload it again. We get all the way into next Friday morning, right? We could be talking about a strengthening tropical system sort of northeast of the Lesser Antilles, starting to sneak into what we call the Southwest Atlantic or the Western Atlantic, which is right here. You can call the entire Gulf, the entire Caribbean, off the coast of southeast of Western Atlantic, but I always call this the Southwest Atlantic. But you see a lot of strong members here, and then we take it all the way to about a week out. And let's just go on and go as far out as it can go, which is all the way out to next Saturday evening. And you got some, once again, you got some members cruising to the south. You got some members right in the middle. And we got a few stragglers trying to just turn out to sea. But, man, there's some strong members in here. And they're doing nothing but getting stronger after this. And What do you take from this? You combine this with the Euro ensemble. That's honestly one of the most responsible things you can do in the long range. And they are locked into something getting into this area of the ocean. Okay, so that's model, guys. That's a lot. That's the part of the video a lot of people want to see. But this is the one that I encourage you guys to watch. The environmental background of the Atlantic. And sometimes I read the comments and I can tell people don't watch this part of the video, but it's important. And my job as a weather enthusiast is to explain things to you guys, the audience, where you folks can understand. If you don't understand what I'm saying, please don't feel like your question's stupid. It's not. Ask in the comments and I got you covered. Okay? So what we're going to look at first is we're going to pretty much focus in on the Euro here, because I buy the Euro in the short to medium term with it keeping it a weaker system. I'll tell you why. So green on your screen, that is moist air. The brown is dry air. Tropical systems don't like brown. They don't like brown air. I say that a lot. You'll hear me say that a lot. They don't like dry air. So, of course, this tropical wave itself, as we're getting into Monday morning, is got a little bit of moist air, but it's going right into this big chunk of dry air. Okay, and as it continues to move forward here, it's got to plow right into that. I think that will hurt it from developing. The upper wind pattern is decent, but you mix that with the fact that it's a lot of dry air out in front of the system, and this kind of has to plow right into that. Now, as it gets to about right here, a week from today, there's still a lot of dry air wrapping on the outer skirts of it, but at this point, it's beginning to cocoon itself fully with moist air, and that is because the upper wind pattern improves, which I'll hit on here in a second, and allows this thing to create its own environment, and pretty much shunts any dry air way away from the core of the system. And the core is very moist, the low-level circulation. So you can see a difference between this, and if you back it up and look at this. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moist air around it, but if you look kind of right ahead of the storm, which is the direction it's moving, you're seeing a lighter shade of green, which means that you don't have a lot of deep moisture around the system. That improves as you get about a week out. Now, it does look like it tries to battle some dry air right here, but it looks like it recovers pretty fast. So this doesn't always tell the tale, but one thing we know is that, and I've been preaching on this a ton, is about a week from now, I think the upper wind pattern dramatically improves. And what you're looking at here are winds at about 40,000 feet up in the air. And the areas in light blue you see, this is more flow in that level. But note that these tropical systems, they spin in the lower to mid levels. The upper levels is kind of above this system. So let's move this in time here. We take it to about right here. Okay? Right here. There's light flow in general. This thing is basically creating its own strong wind flow aloft, because it's this, I mean, there's one thing to note is there's very light flow aloft. The stronger flow is basically created by the flow around this system. So the light flow aloft meaning above this system, allows for this thing to breathe very well. Basically, rapidly push air out from the middle of the system and then push it outward, and then allows for more air to rise. That mixed with the fact that you can see it right here. It almost looks like, let's back it up a little bit more. This is a better example of this. Like right here, it almost looks like it's trying to create what we call ULAC, an upper level anticyclone, where winds are actually spinning anticyclonically above the storm, allowing for air to expand outward. So this system gets very strong as it gets into the Southwest Atlantic, and this is a prime example of this thing is rapidly intensifying at this point in the Southwest Atlantic past day 10. Well, why? Well, you see this you see this kind of slither of blue here? This is actually outflow being created by this hurricane. So the system is spinning and so strong and so tall because it's a strong storm system. This thing is spinning like this cyclonically, even in the upper levels, which is pretty impressive. But air is being rapidly pushed out away from the storm like this. You can see the lines of the arrowheads embedded into them. It's pushing out like this, like that. So basically it has an environment that's allowing for divergence aloft. And that's air that comes up and then rapidly gets thrown out from the central portion of the storm, expanded outward. That allows for more air to rapidly rise. We know that rising air allows for shower and storm activity. Shower and storm activity brings moist air, right? And tropical systems love moist air. They don't like dry air. So the upper wind pattern in general lightens up and allows this thing to sort of create an environment that supports a lot of air being dispersed outward. That makes it the fact that we could just literally have a boost with this if we get any kind of upper level anticyclone that forms on top of it. So that light flow just allows it to create its own environment. And when these systems can almost can create their own environment, they really can thrive. So hope that makes sense. It's always it can be tough explaining this, and especially when there isn't a great example of it. But you can see at the time that this thing begins to sort of really, really take off, it gets right here. You see how all of a sudden you have all this blue kind of away from the L, which is the central portion of the low pressure. This is when this thing says, all right, I'm going to do my own thing now and really explode. So you mix that with the fact that we got very warm sea surface temperatures. I mean, this is kind of the easy thing to explain, right? The 29s, the 30s, the 31s you see on your screen, that's Celsius, right? You convert that to Fahrenheit, that's mid to upper 80s. So sea surface temperatures are like bathtub waters out here. And we know the tropical systems like the warm waters of the Atlantic, of any ocean. Now, I keep going back and forth on how I'm going to show steering currents, and I think I'm going to stick with this. It's a little bit smaller on our screen, but I think this is the best way to explain it because it shows wind barbs on here, and then the more red colors you see right in here, ignore this up here, this is where we have stronger ridging. So at this coming Monday afternoon, see what yellow looks like. I don't know. See what this looks like. Let's just go with this. This coming Monday afternoon, our low pressure is right around right here. And you can see that by how, the wind barbs are sort of rotating around this. So our low pressure is right around right here on the Euro. It's very weak, not very strong. As we move here in time, the flow around this ridge, which is kind of going like this, you can see how the flag on the wind bar is pointing this way. So that means that the flow's coming that way. So this is going to steer this low pressure that way. Okay? We continue to move forward here. All right, this thing is going to start to strengthen right as we're getting into next week. And right here, you can see this thing begins to strengthen here. And it's being steered by some pretty decent in strength high pressure right here. So the flow's kind of going down here, and then it's going like this and like that. So that's continuously steering this system sort of this way, right? The flow's going around this ridge. And we have some kind of darker colors here, in this red, kind of this brick red, indicating stronger ridging. Now, does this ridge get weaker? Let's continue to move forward here. Let's recap something too. Remember, a stronger low pressure is going to want to fight to gain latitude easier. It's carried more by those upper level winds, which at 500 millibars, 18, 20,000 feet up in the air, it's going to feel those more if you have a stronger system, because a stronger system's popping off stronger updrafts and taller updrafts. They extend further up in the atmosphere, which then again gets steered by those currents. So that's why they get pulled north so fast. So at this point, we take it about a week from today, and yeah, we do have some flows still sort of dropping down here and kind of trying to push this storm system towards the coastline. And we almost got a connection between stronger ridging right here, but this system can feel this weakness right in here. See this weakness between a little bit more stronger ridging and stronger ridging right here. It's feeling this weakness. It's going to try to split that gap there. That's what they do. They can feel it. And as you move forward here, it looks like this almost breaks the ridge and it gets north. And it scrapes the North Carolina mid-Atlantic coastline. So it cannot fully escape and turn out to sea because there is just enough ridging bearing down on it. So the flow's kind of going like this and like that, then kind of going like this. And this is kind of running right into that ridge, but there's still enough push on that system to not allow this to just kind of go like this, but more so like this, because there is some ridging pushing it further to the west because of the flow. Hope that makes sense. Now on the GFS, for example, what's the difference? Let's back this up a little bit. There's just more of a weakness early on. It's a stronger system early on. So there's some ridging on top of it, trying to make this kind of go further west. But this system's so strong that it's just going to plow right into the weak ridging. And I will tell you, the ridging in general isn't very strong in the Euro or the GFS. It's not like you have a super strong ridge that is really going to force this west regardless. I really don't. I think the Atlantic's going to be a little absent of this, but there's going to be enough ridging to force everything way too far west for comfort. Okay, so guys, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Appreciate the support lately. There's been some feisty comments down there, and I was expecting it. I made some tweaks on the thumbnails to try to, I want people to jump on my stuff. I want people to watch. I want people to be aware. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm not. I'm trying to get people aware, and I want people to click on my stuff. I'm going to be straight up with you guys because I want people to see what I have to offer, the detail that I can provide, because if you give the channel a shot, you're going to find that you're going to get good information and very detailed information. I'm never going to be somebody that's just going to jump on here, show you a bunch of random model runs, not provide much context, and then head on off. Okay? I'm going to have a section like this where I get really detailed on why it does this, why it gets steered one way, and I want people to see what I got to offer. So, but more importantly, with the thumbnails and the titles, I'm not going to put anything on those that I don't think has a possibility to happen. And everything I've been showing, I think has a real possibility to happen. I think we're likely going to get some sort of hurricane in the next 7 to 10 days. And I think that there could be a threatening scenario to land. Absolutely. With everything I just showed you. And I absolutely think that this hurricane will have an environment that supports to be a strong hurricane. And obviously the tropics are getting very active. So I always feel like I want to explain myself because, listen, this is a personal channel. I like to keep things personal. That's just how I am. And maybe that works against me sometimes, but you guys are family and I always want to keep you in the loop with everything. So, but anyways, enough of all that. Y'all have a wonderful night. We'll do it all again tomorrow morning. Stay tuned. We'll give you the latest information from overnight into tomorrow. God bless and have a blessed night.